I don't think, trying to see, if you're a California partner, shoot me in the chat as well. Because if there is, I will cater a little more to there. If not, we'll stick strictly TEFAP. And as an intro, my name's Chris. I am the Commodities and Procurement Coordinator. My title changed a little bit, so it's a little more difficult to say. But also, we do Nevada TEFAP. We've done Nevada TEFAP since 2017. And we actually just started doing California TEFAP in a couple of counties. So if you hear me saying stuff about California, that's why. But this presentation is mostly around the Nevada TEFAP side because it has a little bit, as you can see, we're going to talk a little bit about the past, the present, and the future of TEFAP, and a little bit of stuff in between as well. And I'll stop after each kind of like section there, so past, present, and future. And if any questions pop up, I can answer those. You can shoot them in the chat box, or you can just wait till the end and we'll go over, have a question and answers section. So let's get started. All right, so the agenda for this presentation, we're going to look at the past. And like I said, we started TEFAP in 2017. We'll talk about TEFAP before trade mitigation, and I'll give you some definitions for these things as we go along too. So if you're confused, you'll hear kind of an explanation around that, especially like trade mitigation, one of them being. So we'll look at before trade mitigation, we'll look at during trade mitigation, and then we'll look at the present. What's the current status of TEFAP? Because it has changed in the last 6 months. It's gone from a whole lot of food to expecting no food to back to a whole lot of food. So we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk about compliance too. We had an audit or review in 2020, and we'll kind of go over some of the things that we found and how that applies to you guys as pantries. And then we'll talk a little bit about monitor visits, and then we'll go into future and how stimulus will affect TEFAP, and then what's on order through FY21, give you a little sneak peek of what you might see through the whole year. And so I want to start with just a quick overview of, and so everyone has kind of a baseline knowledge of how TEFAP works in the sense of ordering and funds. So when we go through this presentation, it'll be a little more, it'll be clear for everyone as far as what I'm talking about. So TEFAP is run through the USDA. There's a couple different acronyms for it. USDA does it. FNS, which is the Food and Nutrition, I don't know if it's sector. I can't remember what the S stands for. But it really, they're the parent of all of this. And then it runs down to each state. So each state receives an allotment of entitlement funds. And so allotment or entitlement funds are basically money we use to purchase food. And so each state runs a little bit differently. So we are, our kind of overseer of the TEFAP program is the Nevada Department of Agriculture. Some of you guys may remember when they were running the program pre-2017. We took it over then, and so we are a RDA, a Regional Distributing Agency for the NDA, and you guys are all either LDAs, which are local distributing agencies, or we have one SDA, which is a subrecipient agency. So that's kind of some of the background there, and so the entitlement funds are given out to each state, and they're based on a 60-40 split between households below the poverty line and unemployed people in that state. And so the third piece to that is obviously population. So California obviously gets a ton of funds for entitlement because of the size and the density of their population. Nevada is probably the complete opposite, pretty small in comparison. And so from there, the entitlement funds are split by service area. So we have 2 providers in Nevada. In Southern Nevada, it's 3 Square, and they do, this could be a lie, 3 or 4 counties, Clark obviously being the biggest. In Northern Nevada, it's us, the food bank, and you can see that the split of entitlement funds is basically 65-35. And that's a loose number depending on the year. So it changes every year. But again, it's by population. So obviously Vegas is much bigger than we are, those counties down there. So the split is that way. One thing is that Southern Nevada gets more food or gets more money to buy food. But we up here in Northern Nevada get more administration funds to distribute the food because we have such a wide, we travel a lot more than they do in the South. We have TEFAP partners from West Wendover to Incline down to Hawthorne, and we do a distribution in McDermott, Nevada, which is right on the border of Oregon. So we have a wide area that we distribute TEFAP to. So these entitlement funds are used to buy USDA foods off their food buying portal. And so you guys have probably seen a lot of the foods that we purchase are the same. So canned items, dry items, frozen items, they're all very similar. And through the USDA portal, the menu doesn't change a lot. And there's some things I could buy on there, which you guys probably wouldn't be happy with me. I mean, you guys sort of see that already sometimes, and we'll see some photos coming up with those items. But there are other items that I try and avoid just because they're less desirable, and we try and reach the most population with the items that we have. So there are other ways we receive commodities, so bonus offers, which we'll talk a little bit more about later. This is basically excess in the supply chain. So one example is the milk that we've been seeing through the TEFAP program is all through bonus offers. So there's an excess milk in the supply chain, which they offer to the USDA to buy, and then it's given to us for free. Excuse me. This is really good because it's a lot of the items that we don't typically get to order, and they're really good. So milk, cheese, some frozen proteins, some produce, some fruits come through that bonus offers, which are either too expensive for us to spend our entitlement money on or aren't on the portal to order. So be thankful for those bonus offers because those are huge for us. Trade mitigation, which was from 2018 to 2020. And this was basically because of some government trade wars that we had with mainly China, but there were some other places as well. And what the government did was they supported the farmers by buying these commodities that they used to trade. And what they did was when they bought them, they filtered them into certain programs. So TEFAP being one of them, CSFP, which is the senior boxes, and then FDPIR, which is Native American commodities, were some of the big programs that they filtered it into. But again, that ended in 2020, which we'll talk about as well. And then stimulus, this is what we've been seeing recently. Federal funds that are used to support COVID food insecurity. And like Jen said, we've seen a huge jump in the number of people coming through pantries, through mobile, through all our sectors of ways of distributing food. And because of this, we've been given money to spend on TEFAP and give that to you guys and filter it through our other programs as well. All right, so let's talk a little bit about TEFAP before trade mitigation. And this is just so you guys kind of know the history and also see the kind of extravagant jumps we've seen in the program. So we took it over in 2017, and when it started, we had 28 entitlement partners. So you guys, if you're an entitlement partner, you already know this. You get a menu every month, and it is shipped to you guys. And you don't have a ton of say. You can say yes and no on certain items, but we try and make a well-rounded menu that is given to these partners. And that's how we started. We were given the program this way. We did expand it a little bit, but we've historically had 28 partners in this entitlement program. And there was some bonus offers that came through that we gave to other partners. but that was few and far between. And you can see in 2017, we had just over £1 million. And this could be skewed because I think we took the program in the middle of 2017, so it wasn't a full year. But you can see that it was, in the scheme of things, £1 million is not a ton, especially when we start looking at some of the later years. So 2018, you saw a jump. We were up close to 3 million or over £3 million. And that was because that was actually a full year of us running the program. That would probably be more of a baseline for us if we didn't have trade mitigation, if we didn't have all these other funds, you know, a couple of bonus offers. That's really what the TEFAP would look like at a baseline. And so let's look at trade mitigation, or sorry, TEFAP during trade mitigation. And I threw some lentils in for there because I know you guys all love lentils. In 2019 was really the start of trade mitigation. We and you guys probably remember this if you've been around long enough. A couple of agency conferences ago, we said, hey, there's going to be this huge influx of food. So those 28 partners, you're still going to get your menu every month, but we need more people to come on because we're going to have a heck of a lot of food. And that's why a lot of you are on here, because you guys are, we call them bonus partners in the beginning. You just we've kind of given up on that name. It's just that you're just a TEFAP partner right now. We had 99 pantries come on in some form, and we distributed TEFAP through 46 mobile harvest sites, 43 CSFP sites, and here's where you can really see what trade mitigation did for us. You can see we had 7 million pounds, close to 7.5 million pounds that year, almost doubling. And this is all pre-COVID too. And you can see the household numbers our clients served. We served almost 300,000 households and almost 828,000 participants came through that year, almost 1 million participants. So this was huge. When we asked you guys to come on and help us move this food, you guys did a great job. And this is sort of why I wanted to present this to you, because you guys are a huge factor in us moving that amount of food. And if we look at 2020, it just gets larger. And so in 2020, we had 94 pantries get food, and we had a little bit of drop because we had some pantries come on and say, yeah, this may be too much paperwork for me. I don't want to do this anymore. So we dropped down to 94, but we upped our mobile harvest to 66 sites. And this was really because we had some sites that started at the beginning of the year that didn't finish, and we had to find new ones because we moved to a drive-through model. We had to find places with parking lots. We had to go to schools, or move from schools to another place because they were closed. So that's really the explanation of the expansion of the mobile harvest program. And then we stayed about the same with CSFP programs that receive TEFAP. But here we can see the total pounds again jump almost 750,000 pounds, close to 1 million. We almost jumped another 1 million for this year. And what a blessing it was, because we didn't know coronavirus was going to happen, but it was really a godsend to us, the food bank, when we were having supply chain issues, and to you guys as pantries that you're able to provide that food for clients. And especially when we look at, if we were to break it down more, those pounds were really, if we're looking, it's mostly produce, milk, dairy, frozen proteins, all the stuff that people really are attracted to when they come into a pantry. And then if we look again, go to households, we jumped even more. And again, coronavirus probably played a part into that, where more people were in need. But again, we had the food to facilitate that through TEFAP. So it was really, really great. And again, I put pictures of garbanzo beans because who doesn't love them? I mean, we had 8 truckloads. All right. Don't see any questions in the chat box, so keep putting those in there if you have any. Let's look at the present. So trade mitigation ended at the end of last year in 2020. Technically, and I say technically because we still have a couple of outstanding loads, and those were mostly based off of supply chain issues. So, and they're both frozen. So we have a frozen fish load and a frozen turkey load that are still waiting to come in. So eventually those will come in and trade mitigation will be fully over. So you guys probably saw an email go out saying, hey, we brought you all on knowing that trade mitigation was going to end, and we hoped it wouldn't, but the time has come. We're going to have to start reducing the amount of TEFAP agencies because we were projected to lose 4.5 million pounds of food. That's a hard number to wrap your head around because of just the size of it. But I mean, that's almost, I would say, well, I'm not gonna try and do the math in my head with, but it's a lot. It's a lot. It's almost 100 truckloads maybe, which would not be coming through here. But we had to change our plans because luckily the USDA came through and offered us a lot of bonus offers. So we still have a high volume of food coming through here this year. And luckily we were able to go to those partners saying, hey, we said we were gonna have to take you off, but there's been a change of plans. We can pretty much keep you on until further notice. And so bonus offers have been a huge part. And the stimulus funds that we've been seeing have been another huge part. So to the present time, we've had 3 different forms of funds come through. We had the CARES, actually, I think it started with FFCRA, which was Food for Families, or I don't know, they have ridiculous acronyms now that are hard to keep track of. They had CARES funds come through, and I know some of you guys were involved in that. And then the most recent one was what's called COSA funds, which was another $1 million for us to use to spend on food. And I think that one was more federal and it came from USDA down to us. So all of these have been able to purchase more food to keep partners on and provide enough food to facilitate, you know, the high need that we've been seeing. And then lastly, in the present, we've expanded the entitlement partners. So like I said, there was the 28 entitlement partners. Some of those have changed a little bit, but we also expanded because we did as the food bank, we did a little bit of analysis of spots within certain counties where we were missing. We really want to make the availability of TEFAP as broad as we can without reducing the amount of quantities in our entitlement menu. So we actually have 34 partners. Well, I should say 33. We're getting one more on once they get some stuff together. But we have 34 partners, and really we expanded in counties: Carson County, Washoe, where Winnemucca is. I can't remember what county they're in. Lander? No, I won't guess, but
Humboldt.
Humboldt, there we go. Thank you. So we expanded in Winnemucca as well, just because we saw some holes in areas. So if we look in Carson, we only had 1 pantry to begin with. We now have 3 on there, just to have different parts of the town able to provide those TEFAP commodities to people, so they don't have to travel as far. Also here in Washoe, we did Northwest Reno, needed some help, the North Valleys, and then kind of by Geiger grade a little bit. So we expanded. We'll probably take a look at that again, just at the end of the year, to see, is there any more holes that we're missing that could provide TEFAP commodities to the public in areas that are food insecure. So that's kind of a little bit of an explanation of the expansion. If you're on the TEFAP menu, you probably saw some extra partners pop on there, and that's why. All right, so let's talk about in the present compliance and some of the things that we found from our NDA review. So the food bank gets their NDA review every 2 years. 2020 was the most recent review. And with every review, there's some things that pop up that both we need to change and we need to work with the partners to change as well. And just a caveat here, if you're a residential agency, some of these things don't apply to you, especially with the sign-in process, because you guys run it a little bit differently. Also, if you're a congregate feeding site, same thing, different rules for you. And then also, if you're on Oasis Plus, this also doesn't technically apply to you very much. We can have another conversation about sign-in process on a different time, because most people are on paper sign-in. So, so they came, they did a review of us, and then they also go out to sites and look at how sites do their intake, distribution, storage, all the things that are in the policy and procedure manual. And so the first thing that came up was addresses. In the beginning, when we brought a bunch of partners on, we had the understanding that if we had a way of keeping track of client addresses away from the sign-in sheet, we could do that. Well, technically, they don't want us to do that. So from here on, we need to start taking full household addresses when we sign people in. Just again, a compliance issue, a compliance thing there. And then also, oh yeah, I got this slide too. The PA and AI part of the sign-in form. And I got the look here. So here's the address boxes that we need to fill out. And then the AI PA, which was a part of a training video. So it's basically a certification of how somebody qualifies for the program. PA is a program assistance, and AI is what they call allowable income. So there's a list of programs that if a person's on, they automatically apply for TEFAP. And then also there's a section with a breakdown of per household size, the income guidelines for that as well. So we need to start filling both of those out, and then I'll talk a little bit about the training process at the end, because we all need to go through training. So as a way of showing that we're in compliance. The next thing is storage requirements. So one thing that came up when they went out to pantries is that some pantries were mixing TEFAP and donated without identifying which was which. So we're talking about this in both the pantry area where you give out food to the clients, and maybe if you have a storage area. So what we're talking about is you either need to separate the TEFAP food from the donated food if it means a different shelf or a different room, or you need to mark the items as TEFAP in some way. So even if you do have it mixed in with the donated items, you can tell, hey, this is TEFAP, we need to take special care of these items because of the rules around them. And that's really, there's a couple reasons for that. One is we do an inventory at the end of each month when we send in our report, and it just makes it easier for you to find that stuff. And then also, if there were to be some food loss, so say a refrigerator goes out and you have a bunch of things mixed in there, you're not sure what's TEFAP, what's not. Well, technically, if we have a food loss, we have to report it. So it just makes it easier for that. And then also, just so when clients sign in and they say, you have one client that's signing up for TEFAP and one that's not, they know what food to take and what not to take. So just a couple things around that. And then civil rights, I know I've been sending out emails left and right with this, but we got any staff or volunteer who deals with TEFAP commodities and or the clients needs to go through TEFAP civil rights training. I try to make it as easy as possible. There's a video online and also a way to sign in, show that you've gone through it with a link. Pretty easy. I'm sorry, the video is really boring. It's the government made it up, so you can imagine what it's like. And then there's also a limited interaction form for anyone who only deals with a certain part of it, which is also online. And I can send those out again for anyone. But if you go to the food bank website and you go to partner agencies, there's like a training section that you can go and find all those. And then lastly, this one's on me. I was supposed to have everyone should have access to the policy and procedure manual. So here in the coming days, I'll send out the latest one that was created. So you all have it on hand. If you guys want a paper copy, you can always send it to me, send me a note and I can print it out for you. And then there's a new one on its way. So when that one comes out, I'll make sure you guys all have access to it as well. And then lastly, so these compliance things come with some corrective action, and that really is around me doing some training with you all. So I'm going to update a couple of videos and I will send out an email with with the video and the sign-in sheet, just so I know everybody went through it. I tried to make them as short and sweet as possible, just so you get trained without having to be bored to death. So I did my best. So will TEFAP be ending soon? And if so, when, is a question by Jacob. And actually, hold tight, because we're going to talk about that. We'll talk about that in the future section, so I should be able to answer that question for you. So also with the present, pantry reviews. Usually we do the TEFAP review with the monitor visit, but we're gonna kind of, there will be some times when we do that still, but I'm really gonna take the time to try and go out and be a little more present with you all as far as pantries wise. You know, both Marina and I have talked about how sometimes we feel like tyrants, like just asking for reports and trainings. And we really want to make it more of a relationship. You know, we have a relationship between us as the food bank and the pantry, and you guys as the pantry. So I'm still going to come out and do reviews, but I really want to come out and do reviews with you guys and kind of be more of an advocate for you guys' pantry. And hopefully I'll come out, do the review, and then do it at a time when you guys are doing a distribution, so I can come help out and just be more present and answer questions, and, you know, just go through food banking together. You know, we're all here to feed people, and I think sometimes here, us at the food bank who aren't out with the public all the time kind of get jaded. So so when I come do these reviews, don't feel like you're going to get in trouble. Like when the NDA comes and does their review with us, it's more about finding things, fixing them to make the program run better, be in compliance, and just overall have a better, I don't know, knowledge of the program and what its intent is. So I'll come out. If we find any issues, we're going to work together with you to fix these. You're not on your own. We're not trying to get you guys in trouble. We're not going to stop TEFAP coming your way. The only reason we'd stop it is if we saw you like selling food or something, which I think is kind of beats the purpose of having a pantry to begin with. So, so when somebody comes out and does a monitor review with you, they may skip the whole TEFAP part, but just know that I'll be in contact with you to set that up and come out and hang out and see what we can do to help you guys. So that's kind of the present part of the TEFAP presentation. So let's look a little bit about the future. And I know you asked the question, is TEFAP going to end, and if it does, when? The simple answer is no. The TEFAP program will never end. It's a federal, well, I shouldn't say that. They could stop the program, but I don't see that happening anytime soon. For the partners that are non-entitlement, you can see at the bottom of this slide, once I go through this, it's basically saying that you guys are going to continue to be on the program till at least January 2022. And the reasons for this is like the past funding due to the stimulus. So FFCRA CARES have all put a bunch of money in the program, what allows us to have more inventory on hand, keeping everyone on the program to an extent. We have had to take people off just because of compliance issues, but that's more about reporting and stuff like that. So as long as you are staying up to date with reporting and compliance, and you're going to continue to be on the program. We are currently spending down the COSIP funding, which I said before, which was about £1 million, which was from the Consolidated Appropriation Act. So FFCRA and CARES was kind of from the first round of stimulus with the economy. You can kind of expect there to be some sort of extra fund for food based on when you got a stimulus check or when the stimulus checks came out. So the first one, FFCRA and CARES. The second one, the Consolidated Appropriation Act, which was the $600 one in December. And then we have the American Rescue Plan Act that just came in February, into February. So we're not totally sure what that's going to bring as far as extra funding for TEFAP. If we go off the last couple ones, we're probably going to see more funding in food purchases through the TEFAP program and possibly other government programs such as CSFP. So what we're really hoping is that they're going to put more funding in there, and they're also going to broaden the delivery date period. So a lot of times when they give us funding, it's for a specific time frame, which helps sort of, because they give us a lot of money to spend in a certain amount of time, and that makes logistical storage difficulties. So what we've asked NDA and USDA to tell the NDA and Feeding America, excuse me, to tell the USDA is, hey, we need to broaden the delivery periods because coronavirus and the struggling economy is not going to be gone or back to the way it was by 2022. It'd be nice if it was, but expectations are it probably won't be. So, you know, people are going to be food insecure past 2022, you know, January. So that's what we're hoping for with the American Rescue Plan Act and any funding that comes with it. One good thing is, and this is where I said at least January 2020, our expectations is this amount of food is going to go further, because every time we get one of these funds, it takes away from us spending our entitlement money. And so the more we can use those funds to kind of broaden the menu for you all, the entitlement funds will roll over to the next year. So, you know, we have, I can't remember the last time I checked, but we have a good chunk of money that is for 2021 that we probably won't spend because of the bonus offers and all these other funds. So that'll roll over to the next year along with the 2022 money, which just bolsters it and allows us to have more food coming in, allowing us to keep more of you on the TEFAP program. So that's kind of the future with the stimulus. Oh, sorry. And then let's talk about what's coming in. So we have a disclaimer. TEFAP orders do have the possibility of getting canceled. So about 20% of the orders that we put are canceled, and we've seen an uptick, but really in the more, I shouldn't say less desirable, but shelf stable. So like canned fruits and vegetables, the supply chain has been really bad lately because there's a can shortage. It's getting better, but a lot of the orders that we put in are canceled for that. So the good thing about canceled orders is the money goes back into our account so we can spend it on other things. So just a disclaimer for you that I do put these up here. There is a chance that they get canceled. But for frozen protein, we're going to see this through 2022. We're going to see fish, chicken of different types. I think we even have the fajita strips coming in again, which I know are popular. Turkey, and that's both, I think, breast and sliced, so kind of deli style. Ham, pork chops, and ground beef. Those are two really cool items that we get to have. Those are going to be at the end of the year. I think November, December, October, November, December, somewhere around there. But chicken, we're going to see all year. So I try and separate it up so you're not getting the same thing twice throughout the month. So I don't do chicken legs and chicken legs. I try and do chicken legs and something else. So it makes it a little easier to distribute, and clients are happier seeing a variety. Dairy, milk is offered for bonus through by quarters. So we have through June so far. We're expecting them to offer it in the next couple quarters as well to finish out the year. We've seen it for the past like 2 years, or maybe less than 2 years, year and a half. So we're going to continue to see that, I'm sure. Cheese, we have it almost every month until the end of the year, so that's exciting. And we were able to get something, a different variety, Swiss cheese, which is cool, because sometimes they give us that government cheese and it's no good. But you know, Swiss cheese and shredded cheese is a lot better than that stuff. So we'll see butter a couple more times. Eggs, we have orders in from May to December, one truck up a month, which is about our threshold with expiration. So you can expect to see those out there. And then fruit. Fruit is the main produce we see through the TEFAP program. And so we'll see oranges, apples, pears, grapes. Occasionally we get offers for stone fruit. Depends on what it is, because a full truckload is really hard to get rid of before it's unusable. Stone fruit's real fragile, so sometimes we stay away from that. And then one more thing that's on there is we just got word on Monday, I think, that they're going to offer mixed produce boxes. So they'll have both vegetables and fruit in there. They haven't given us specifics on that, but it's super cool that they're looking at new items to put for us to order, especially with produce, because like I said, besides potatoes, that's really the only vegetable, and that's questionable if it's a vegetable. So that's cool. We're going to see those June through September, I think, is the first kind of round. So Jen and I are going to talk about bringing those in and distribution models and how we can utilize that. So and then the usual can and shelf stable items that you guys see on a regular basis. We have been able to order a couple of things that we don't typically. So come holiday time, we did put in some orders for vegetable oil, and we try and do some holiday specific things. So pumpkin coming in, around Thanksgiving time, just so people have that. Flour too. Those are some of the items that we have coming in. So that is what 2021 is looking like as far as what's coming in. Does anyone have any questions? I can answer questions about CFAP too. I can give you a little explanation really quick. So CFAP is a Corona Food Assistance Program, and it's the boxes of kind of pre-packed boxes with dairy, fruits and vegetables, and meat, pre-cooked meat. We know, and you guys may not have seen these a whole ton because we've really tried to target communities that aren't, I shouldn't say partners with us, but there really isn't any regulations around these boxes. So it's been really helpful when we've been targeting tribal communities because they were hit really hard with coronavirus, and are in a lot of areas that are far away from our pantries. So we did send a lot of those boxes out there. You may have seen them come through on parking lot distributions or direct deliveries. We also put them on Mobile Harvest a lot as well. We know that the program is going to go through April. We've heard maybe May as well. So we're not sure. We know April is kind of the ending point for us right now. We did have a call with the USDA, kind of a listening session where people could talk about the program and how it works. And so that had food banks, Feeding America, farmers who have been selling their produce to these distributors, and also the distributors. And I think the consensus was that both Feeding America, food banks, and farmers said, it's been really helpful, but the program is not run very well because they put it together so fast. And the distributor said, this is a great program because, of course, they're making all the money off of the program by buying cheap stuff. And so, of course, they're going to say it's great because they're making profits. So what we're hoping for is that program is converted somehow to either be incorporated in TEFAP, where they broaden the menu of stuff that we can order. So to include like yogurt or cottage cheese or different kinds of cheese. And then some of those pre-cooked meats would be great to see through the TEFAP program. We think that with having some state oversight with the program, it's going to run a little better, and getting away from those distributors who are just buying product for cheap and selling it or distributing it, should I say, and profiting off this program. So we think that there's definitely some money in there that we could use as food banks to help farmers and help people with food insecurity. So that's kind of a little bit about the CFAP program and where it's headed. I can also give you guys updates as we hear. So if anyone has any questions, and it doesn't have to be on anything that we talked about here with TEFAP, if you got any questions at all, you can put it in the chat box or you can unmute yourself, and we'll just hang out here for a minute.
Chris, I just want to say thank you for all the work that you put into this to help us feed our residents and clients.
Thank you, Sherry. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's always good to hear that. Sometimes we get bogged down with what I was saying with like, hey, we need reports, we need you to do this training, that we kind of get lost on what we're actually doing. So it was really heartwarming when we were able to find out that, you know, with all these bonus offers, we're going to keep everyone on to hear the impact that it has on some of the folks. So that really was good to hear that it's actually, you know, helping the community and providing for people who really need it. So. A couple other updates. I did send out the thing saying that the new income guidelines are out. I'm still waiting for the posters to come in. When they do come in, I'll send it out to everyone, so you can get fresh posters up there with the updated income. I don't really have a date yet. And then also, seeing Denise on here reminds me that we do finally have Spanish versions of the certification of eligibility, which is the income guidelines basically, and then also the alternative pickup form. So I will send those out to everyone, so you can have them on hand. That's always good to have if you guys were to be looked at in an audit to show that you have those forms and have them in different versions. So I'll send those out to you guys when I send the training videos out too. So. And if that's it, oh, there's one more chat thing. Just thank you. Yeah, glad we could have this, even though it's virtual this year. I think I love seeing everyone and getting to talk to everyone and answer questions as a group. So if there's nothing else, you can just hang out here. I think they're going to bring us all back and then say goodbye and we'll be off. So thank you all for joining and participating in the TEFAP program, and I should be talking to you all soon.